Welcome back, my legends, and today I'm going to explain the stories from the Outlands Ashes to Ash and try my best to explain Ash's lore in chronological order in order to understand Ash's lore from the cinematic, and I'll try my best to explain the whole deal with Ash having a split personality, but that'll be towards the end. But first, I want to thank my sponsor for this video, Apex Gaming's PCs. I partnered with them a while ago and they were nice enough to give me my own line of PCs that you can custom build. So if you're interested in looking for a new PC, go check out my line. And thanks to you, my legends, I can now afford $10 holo sprays. So now back to Ash's lore. So we start off with Ashley Reed and Newton Summers working in Hammond Labs. Ashley Reed then tells Newton Summers to take the night off, and the reason she wanted him away from the lab is because this was the day she was going to betray the group in order to steal the Branthium. So for the people wondering why did she try to spare Newton's life, if she was the person responsible for getting rid of Horizon, Newton's mom, in the first place. And the reason is just before they activated Pathfinder, Newton had this little speech where he tried to tell everybody that he considers everybody his friend, especially Dr. Reed for always being there for his mom, and he considered her a good friend. And so because of what Newton said, I feel like Ashley Reed felt super guilty for what she did, and so at the very least she tried to spare Newton's life for what was about to happen. In the next scene, we see that Ash gives the clear for the Apex Predators to come in and try to steal the Branthium, and this is where the Pathfinder's The True cinematic takes place. Ashley Reed gets stabbed by Emily Paquette, Watson's grandmother, and somehow, someway she actually survives the event explosion and ends up in an operation room. Yeah, don't ask me how she survived that. It could have been Lillian Pegg, it could have been some of her mercenary mercs, or maybe it was just because they wanted to make her a legend to sell overpriced cosmetics. Who knows? You can make up your own mind. So in the next scene, we see that Ashley Reed is being turned into a simulacrum. Now, without getting too complicated about the whole simulacrum thing, all you have to know is that Ashley Reed agreed to have a rush surgery that would be painful and dramatic in order for her to turn into a simulacrum. But what seemed to happen is that human Ash's consciousness looks like it got trapped inside robotic Ash's body, which was not supposed to happen, and I'll explain later on at the end of the video what I mean. And so while human Ash's consciousness was basically forgotten and locked away, a new consciousness was born that was AI based. This was the birth of Ash, Titanfall Ash. In the next scene, we see that BT is crushing her with one of his arms, which is a reference to what you do to her in the campaign if you do an execution. And so this is where we get some off-screen lore. So what happened is that once you crush Ash in the Titanfall 2 campaign, she is rebuilt by Benson Dynamics, and then funny enough gets destroyed again, but this time Kuben Bliss grabs her head and tells her that he needs to hide her in another dimension because of the codes in her head, and that he was coming back for her because they had a deal. And going back to the cinematic, what happens is that in season 5 we rebuild Ash's head and put her back in her original body because she had some Olympus codes that Hammond Robotics wants, and also in the underground bunker we can hear Ash saying some codes, which is basically her awakening codes in order for her to remember what she was like as a human, because according to the writers, no simulacra is allowed to remember their past or be aware that they are no longer human. The reason why is because the IMC in Hammond Robotics, they just wanted simulacrum pilots that could fight. There was no need for them to know their past. It was pointless. And so after the Legends rebuilt Ash, Hammond Robotics got the codes and kind of just threw her away in a dumpster. And this is where in season 6, Pathfinder finds her in the dumpster, basically takes her back to his place, rebuilds her. And this is where Ash kind of got her memories back, but not her memories of her being human, but she did regain her memories of her being a simulacrum to the point where she got thrown into the other dimension. Those are the only memories she was able to remember. And so what happened is that she met up with Kuben Bliss and they had a little discussion, and what happened is that Ash agreed to go with him and she became the Apex Arena's announcer in season 9, and also she got a new body. Now this is the complicated part, and I hope you guys keep with me, because according to Pathfinder's quest book, every simulacrum is basically just a copy of somebody's consciousness made to think they're still human without them remembering their past. Now it really is up for interpretation, but my interpretation is that when somebody becomes a simulacrum, the original person dies and the new simulacrum is born with a copy of that person's consciousness that later becomes their own person. And this will explain why Ash was angry at Ashley Reed, because to her, she was her weak self. Being merciful to Newton and being sympathetic for AI Ash was a sign of weakness. And so I see what the writers are trying to do and where they want to take this story. Unfortunately, it was badly executed. And what I'm trying to get at, my legends, is that we have a dilemma here. Horizon Horizon cannot do anything to Ash because Ashley Reed's consciousness is stuck inside her deep down, and Horizon's going to need her help to understand what happened to her son Newton, because current Ash is not going to help Horizon. She has no reason to help her, even though she now knows everything that happened to Ashley Reed and also what happened to Newton. She could care less. She's going to participate in the games for some reason, and it's gonna be up to Horizon to find a way either to free Ashley Reed from Ash's body or help her take control of Ash's body, which begs the question, is Ash really responsible for everything that Ashley Reed ever did to Horizon, or is she her own person? But that'll be a theory for another time, my legends. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Place where you